woke up to a sound that didn't belong in a peaceful neighborhood. Not the distant hum of a car passing by. Not the soft creak of a gate opening somewhere down the street. Not even the usual early morning noises that you barely notice anymore. No, this was different. This was sharp, sudden, violent, a loud, crushing crash. The kind of sound that doesn't just reach your ears. It hits your chest. The kind that instantly makes your heart race before your brain even understands what's happening. For a second, I just lay there, frozen, staring at the ceiling, trying to process it, trying to convince myself maybe I imagined it. But deep down, I knew I didn't. Short pause. Then came the silence. That strange, heavy silence that follows something bad. And somehow, that silence felt even worse than the sound. That's when instinct kicked in. I threw off the blanket, jumped out of bed, and rushed toward the door. No shoes. No phone. Nothing. Just pure reaction. My mind was racing. Was someone hurt? Was it a break-in? Did something explode? I didn't know, but I had to see. Slightly faster tone. I pulled the door open and stepped outside. And the moment I did, everything stopped. Because right there, in front of me, was a scene I wasn't prepared for. A Jeep. A brand new Jeep. Smashed directly into my front wall. Not just a small hit. Not a scratch. Not even a dent. No, this was a full-on impact. The front of the vehicle was crushed. The hood bent upward. The headlights shattered. And my wall, my solid, carefully built front wall, was broken apart like it was made of nothing. Bricks were everywhere. Scattered across the driveway. Spilled into the yard. Some even thrown onto the sidewalk. Dust still floated in the air. Like the crash had just happened seconds ago. Pause for imagery. For a moment, it didn't feel real. It looked like a movie scene. Like one of those dramatic moments where everything happens in slow motion. But this wasn't a movie. This was my house. My property. My wall. Destroyed in seconds. Slow, focused tone. Then I noticed something. Movement. Inside the Jeep. The driver's door slowly creaked open. And out stepped a teenage boy. He was shaking. His hands trembling so badly he had to hold onto the door just to steady himself. His face, completely pale, eyes wide, breathing heavy, like he had just realized what he had done. And for a brief moment, I didn't feel anger. I felt concern. Because at the end of the day, he was just a kid. A scared kid who had clearly made a terrible mistake. Pause. But that feeling didn't last long. Because the moment I looked closer, the moment I really saw his face, I recognized him. And that changed everything. He wasn't just any kid. He was her son. Karen's son. Slight tone shift. And if you've ever lived in a neighborhood with an HOA, you already know what that means. Karen wasn't just another neighbor. She was the HOA president. The one who made the rules, enforced the rules, and, most of the time, acted like she was above them. She had a reputation. The kind that spreads without anyone needing to say much. Strict. Controlling. Always right. Or at least, she believed she was. Pause. The boy looked at me. Like he wanted to say something. Like he was about to apologize. His lips moved slightly. But no words came out. Just silence. Fear. Regret. And before anything else could happen, before I could even ask if he was okay, before I could even take a step closer, I heard another sound. A car. Pulling up quickly. Too quickly. Tires scraping slightly as it stopped. Tension builds. I turned my head. And I saw her car. The door swung open. And she stepped out. Karen. Slow, dramatic tone. Now, in a situation like this, you expect a certain reaction. Panic. Urgency. Concern. A mother rushing to check on her son. An apology. At the very least. Some acknowledgement of what just happened. But Karen didn't do any of that. She didn't run. She didn't panic. She didn't even look surprised. She walked. Slowly. Calmly. Like she was arriving at a scheduled meeting. Her eyes moved from the Jeep. To the broken wall. To the scattered bricks. And finally, to me. Pause. And then she said something that I still can't believe to this day. She looked straight at me and said, "Why is your wall so close to the road?" Long pause for impact. I didn't respond right away. Because honestly, I thought I heard her wrong. I mean, out of everything she could have said, out of all the possible reactions, that's what she chose. So I just stood there, trying to process it, trying to make sense of something that didn't make sense. Calm but firm tone. Finally, I said, "Your son just crashed into my wall." Simple, clear, straight to the point. But Karen didn't react. Not the way a normal person would. She crossed her arms, tilted her head slightly, and gave me that look, the one that says she had already decided the outcome in her mind. And then she said, "Well, maybe if your wall wasn't illegally built, this wouldn't have happened." Pause. That's when something clicked. This wasn't confusion. This wasn't shock. This wasn't even denial. This was strategy. She wasn't trying to understand what happened. She was trying to control the narrative, shift the blame, rewrite the story. Slow tone. Her son tried to speak again. You could see it. He opened his mouth, took a small breath, like he was finally going to tell the truth. But Karen shut him down instantly. "Don't say anything." Sharp, cold, final. And just like that, he went silent again. Pause. That moment told me everything. She didn't want the truth. She didn't need the truth. Because in her mind, she had already decided what the truth was going to be. Calm, controlled tone. I pointed toward the damage, took a breath, and said, "Look, let's just handle this properly. That's why insurance exists." I was still trying to keep things simple, civil, reasonable, because that's what normal people do. But Karen wasn't interested in normal. Slow, unsettling tone. She smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It wasn't relief. It wasn't understanding. It was something else. Something calculated. Something cold. The kind of smile that makes you feel like you're about to have a problem. And then she said, "Oh, we will handle this." Pause. And then she added, "Don't worry." Long pause. But the way she said it didn't feel reassuring. It didn't feel like a solution. It didn't feel like things were going to be fixed. No, it felt like a warning, like a quiet promise that this situation was far from over. Very slow closing tone. And standing there, looking at the broken wall, the scattered bricks, the silent, shaken boy, and Karen, already planning her next move, I realized something. This wasn't just an accident anymore. This was the beginning of something much bigger. And deep down, I knew this was just the beginning. Calm but tense tone. A few days passed after the crash. And at first, everything felt strangely quiet. Too quiet. The kind of silence that doesn't bring peace. It brings anticipation. Every morning, I'd step outside, look at the broken section of my wall, the temporary barrier I had put up, the scattered marks left behind by the impact, and I'd think to myself, this will get resolved soon. Because logically, it should. It was a simple situation, a clear accident, a clear mistake, and a clear responsibility. Pause. I told myself, maybe Karen just needed time. Time to calm down. Time to process what happened. Time to accept that her son made a mistake. Because at the end of the day, that's what normal people do. They reflect. They take responsibility. They fix what's broken. And then, they move on. Slight pause. So I waited. Patiently. No calls. No confrontation. No escalation. Just waiting for the obvious solution to happen. Tone shifts slightly. But deep down, something didn't feel right. Because if you've ever dealt with someone like Karen, you know one thing. They don't back down easily. They don't admit fault. And they definitely don't apologize. Pause. Still, I gave her the benefit of the doubt. Until that morning. Slow build up. It was a normal day. Nothing unusual. I grabbed my mail like I always do. Flipped through the usual stuff. Bills. Advertisements. Nothing important. And then I saw it. An envelope. Different. Thicker than the rest. Official looking. My name printed clearly on the front. Pause. Something about it immediately felt wrong. I don't know how to explain it. But you know that feeling when you just know? This isn't good. Slow tone. I stood there for a second, just holding it, staring at it. Then I opened it. Slowly, carefully. And the moment I started reading, my stomach dropped. Pause for impact. Karen was suing me. Long pause. Not just for the crash. Not just for the damage. But for something far more ridiculous. Far more calculated. She claimed that my wall was built illegally, that it was placed too close to the road, and that it directly caused the accident. Slight disbelief tone. I actually blinked. Once. Twice. Then I read it again. Word for word. Because it didn't make sense. It couldn't make sense. Her son had driven straight into MY property. And somehow, according to her, I was responsible. Pause. But it didn't stop there. Because she added more. Emotional distress. Vehicle damage. Additional claims. Layered on top of an already absurd argument. It was like she was trying to build a case. Not based on truth, but based on confidence. Slow tone. And for a brief moment, I'll admit, I felt something. Frustration. confusion, even a little bit of anger. Because it's one thing when someone makes a mistake. It's another thing entirely when they refuse to admit it and instead try to turn it against you. Pause. At that moment, I realized something important. This wasn't going to resolve itself. This wasn't going to be simple. This wasn't going to be fair. Unless I made it fair. Firm tone. I had two choices. Panic or prepare. And I chose to prepare. Slight rise in tone. Because that's when something clicked in my mind. Something Karen clearly overlooked. Something she either forgot or assumed didn't exist. I had security cameras. Pause. Not just one. Multiple. Covering different angles of my property, including the front wall. Confident tone. That same day, I went straight to my system, sat down, turned on the monitor, and started going through the footage, scrolling back, minute by minute, hour by hour, until I reached that exact moment. The morning of the crash. Slow, focused. And there it was. Clear. Undeniable. Unfiltered. Her son's Jeep. Driving down the street. A little too fast. Not extremely fast, but fast enough. Fast enough to lose control. Pause. You could see it happen. The slight drift. The sudden correction. The panic. And then, loss of control. Quiet intensity. No obstacles. No cars in the way. No pedestrians. No animals. Nothing. Just an empty street. And a driver who made a mistake. Pause. And then, impact. Direct. Unavoidable. Straight into my wall. Long pause. I watched it. Once. Then again. Then again. Because I needed to be sure. Not emotionally sure. Not logically sure. Completely sure. And every time I watched it, the conclusion was the same. There was no doubt. No gray area. No alternate version of events. Just one simple truth. Reckless driving. Firm tone. That footage alone could destroy her entire case. But I didn't stop there. Because I knew. Someone like Karen wouldn't give up easily. She wouldn't accept defeat. She wouldn't walk away quietly. Strategic tone. So I started preparing. Properly. I gathered everything. Every document related to my property. Every record. Every piece of proof I could find. And most importantly, the original construction permits for my wall. Pause. I opened the files. Reviewed them carefully. Checked every detail. And there it was. Official approval. City stamped. Verified. Legal. My wall was exactly where it was supposed to be. Confident tone. At that moment, something changed. The frustration faded. The confusion disappeared. And in its place came clarity. Because now, this wasn't just my word against hers. This was evidence. Facts. Truth. Pause. Karen thought she was building a strong case. But in reality, she was building something else. A mistake. A very expensive mistake. Slight emphasis. Because the more she pushed this, the worse it was going to get for her. She just didn't realize it yet. Pause. Next step. A lawyer. Calm tone. I didn't rush. I didn't panic. I chose carefully. Set up a meeting. Walked in with everything. The footage. The permits. The lawsuit papers. Pause. He went through it all. Slowly. Carefully. No interruptions. No reactions at first. Just focus. Build tension. And then, he leaned back. Looked at me. And smiled. Small pause. Not a big smile. Not exaggerated. Just a quiet, confident smile. Relief tone. And in that moment, I felt it. Relief. Because when someone who understands the law sees your situation and smiles like that, you know something important. You're not in trouble. They are. Slow build up. We started preparing for court, organizing everything, structuring the case, planning the approach. Every detail mattered. Every piece of evidence had its place. Pause. And as the days passed, the reality of the situation became clearer. This wasn't just going to be a simple case. This wasn't just about a wall, or a car, or an accident. Deep tone. This was about exposure. Truth coming to the surface. A false narrative. Breaking apart. Piece by piece. Final build-up. Court day was getting closer. And with every passing moment, one thought stayed in my mind. This wasn't just going to end with a verdict. This was going to be something bigger. Something that would completely break down everything Karen thought she controlled. And this time, there would be no way for her to spin it. No way to escape it. No way to win. Slow closing line. Because the truth was already waiting. And very soon, everyone was going to see it. Serious, cinematic tone. The courtroom was quiet. Not just normal quiet. The kind of quiet that feels heavy. Like every sound matters. Like every movement is being watched. You could feel the tension in the air, even before anything started. Slow pause. People were already seated. Papers neatly arranged. Lawyers reviewing notes. Low whispers filling the space. But underneath all of it, there was anticipation. Because everyone in that room knew something important was about to happen. Pause. Then the door opened, and Karen walked in. Slow, observant tone. Confident. Composed. Perfect posture. Dressed like she was attending something she had already won. Her lawyer walked right beside her. Sharp suit. Calm expression. The kind of presence meant to intimidate. Pause. Karen didn't look around. She didn't hesitate. She didn't even acknowledge me. It was like I didn't exist. Like I wasn't worth her attention. Slight pause. But that didn't bother me. Not anymore. Because I knew something she didn't. And very soon, everyone else would too. Pause. The case began. The judge entered. Everyone stood. Then sat. And just like that, it started. Measured tone. Her lawyer spoke first. Confident. Controlled. Every word carefully chosen. Every sentence designed to shape perception. Pause. He didn't just present a case. He told a story. A story where I was the problem. Where my wall was unsafe. Improperly placed. A danger to the neighborhood. Slow emphasis. According to him, this wasn't just an accident. This was something that was bound to happen. Inevitable, he called it. Pause. I sat there, listening, processing, and honestly, for a brief moment, I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because of how far from reality it was. Controlled tone. But I stayed quiet. Composed. Because I knew something important. This wasn't my moment. Not yet. Pause. Because my turn was coming. Calm shift. When my lawyer stood up, the energy in the room changed. Not dramatically, not loudly, but noticeably. Pause. There was no performance. No exaggerated gestures. No emotional appeal. Just calm confidence. Firm tone. Facts. That's all he needed. Pause. Your Honor, he said. We would like to present video evidence. Silence. And just like that, everything shifted. Slow, cinematic. The screen turned on. A soft glow filled the courtroom. And suddenly, the room went completely silent. No whispers. No movement. Just attention. Pause. The footage started playing. Very slow pacing. You could see the street. Calm. Empty. Normal. Then, the Jeep. Entering the frame. Moving faster than it should. Pause. A slight drift. A small correction. Then panic. Soft intensity. Loss of control. Pause. And then, impact. Silence. The sound wasn't loud in the video, but you could feel it anyway. Pause. No narration. No explanation. No argument. Just truth. Raw. Unfiltered. Undeniable. Long pause. I didn't look at the screen anymore. I looked at Karen. Slow observation. And for the first time, she didn't look confident. She didn't look composed. She didn't look in control. Pause. She looked nervous. Her posture changed slightly. Her expression tightened. Her eyes moved. Not with certainty, but with concern. Pause. Her lawyer leaned toward her. Whispered something. Quick. Quiet. Urgent. Pause. But it didn't matter. Because at that point, the damage was already done. Firm tone. When the video ended, there was a moment of silence. A heavy one. The kind that says everything. Without anyone speaking. Pause. Then my lawyer continued. Your Honor, he said, we would also like to submit the official construction permits. Measured delivery. The documents were handed over. Reviewed. Examined carefully. Pause. Stamped. Approved. Verified. Every detail in place. Every requirement met. Firm emphasis. My wall was never the problem. Pause. The judge looked through everything. Calm. Focused. Taking his time. No rush. No assumptions. Just facts. Slow build up. And then, he looked up, straight at Karen. Pause. And asked one simple question. Do you still wish to proceed? Long silence. No immediate answer. No confident response. No argument. Pause. Just silence. Because there was nothing left to say. Slow tone. The story she tried to build had collapsed. Right there. In front of everyone. Pause. The case was dismissed. Just like that. Clear. Final. Decisive. Short pause. But that wasn't the end. Not even close. Deep tone. Because actions have consequences. And Karen's actions were about to catch up with her. Pause. She was ordered to pay for everything. The damages to my wall. The legal fees. All associated costs. Every bit of it. Pause. But the real impact came after the courtroom. Build tension. Because news spreads. Especially in neighborhoods like ours. HOA communities. They thrive on information. On discussion. On reputation. Pause. And this was something people couldn't ignore. Slow. At first. It was quiet. Whispers. Small conversations. People asking questions. What really happened? Was it true? Did she actually try to sue him? Pause. Then the truth came out. The footage. The case. The dismissal. Everything. Firm tone. And once people saw it, everything changed. Pause. They started looking at Karen differently. Not as a leader. Not as an authority. But as a liability. Slow emphasis. Someone who abused power. Someone who made decisions without accountability. Someone who thought she was untouchable. Pause. And that's when deeper questions started. About her past decisions. Her actions as HOA president. Her use of authority. Serious tone. And what they found wasn't good. Pause. Old complaints resurfaced. Unfair fines. Questionable rules. Decisions that didn't quite add up. Slow. One thing led to another. And suddenly, this wasn't just about one incident. This was about a pattern. Pause. Within weeks, things started falling apart. Measured tone. Meetings were held. Votes were cast. Discussions turned into actions. Pause. And just like that, Karen lost her position. Short pause. Her title. Her authority. Her control. Pause. Everything she built her identity around. Gone. Slow. But it didn't stop there. Pause. Because when reputation breaks, it affects everything. Deep tone. One day, I stepped outside. Like I always do. Looked around the neighborhood. And then I saw it. Pause. A sign. Placed firmly in the ground. Right outside her house. Slow. Final emphasis. For sale. Long pause. And in that moment, everything came full circle. Calm reflection. All of this started with one simple event. A crash. A mistake. Pause. Something that could have been handled easily. Resolved quickly. Forgotten completely. Slow tone. But instead, she chose something else. She chose denial. She chose control. She chose to fight instead of fix. Pause. And in doing that, she didn't just lose a case. She lost everything. Very slow closing. Her position. Her reputation. Her home. Final pause. All because she refused to accept one simple truth. Final line, deep and slow. Sometimes, karma doesn't wait. It doesn't warn. It doesn't hesitate. It just hits back. Just as hard.